Hi, this is Mark Rifleman with the Ambidextrous Gunfighter. Do a video. I'm going to call this my ambidextrous gunfighting skills sales pitch, so to speak. And it's basically the advantage of being ambidextrous and why I keep arguing for learning to become ambidextrous. First and foremost is the optimal use of cover. Being ambidextrous allows you to make optimal use of cover and concealment. It also allows you to make optimal use of terrain as far as steady hold factors for marksmanship. Now, I'm not going to try to impress you with the tactical look. I'm not, going to do the whole, definitely trying to steer well clear of the whole stolen valor thing. That's why you don't ever see me wearing any kind of tactical gear, and you'll often see me in my old school paintball gear. Now, while I'm trying to be very careful not to do the stolen valor thing, I do want you to consider, though, that a lot of, not to take anything away from the service members, but a lot of them, that have gone through some great training and everything, but they haven't actually been in combat. And I mean, nothing wrong with that. I mean, still, it doesn't take any away from their service. But if you really want to look for people who can talk about gunfighting skills, you've got to look at those that have actually been in combat, not just one single firefight, and repeat firefights, where you have the opportunity to learn from firefights. Now, I have no interest in being in the real world sandbox any more than I have an interest in exercising, using my concealed carry weapon in a real life situation. But in paintball, I can tell you that I have had hundreds of gunfights, and several hundreds, and I've made many trips to the dead box. And so paintball is kind of cool in the fact that you can learn from your experience of being dead without actually being dead. So that's a big advantage. So what are the key lessons of paintball? Well, in paintball, the targets are shooting back. And that's where you learn that the ambidextrous use of cover is crucial. It is specifically only in the crucible of paintball that I can imagine having ever learned to become ambidextrous. The other advantage is you do learn the importance of communication, that is breaking through tunnel vision, and coordinating your movement with your teammates. And that's very important as well.
He's looking inside!
And there's some other things you can learn from paintball as far as lessons, as far as movement and things like that. But I really don't want to take and try to apply those to the real world thing. I really want to focus on just this ambidextrous aspect. Because I think there's a ballistic difference enough between paintball and real guns that I'm not sure that the movement techniques at least completely translate. Some of them do, I'm pretty sure, but I want to focus on ambidextrous. But what keeps steering us away from what I call true gunfighting skills, which include being ambidextrous? What keeps steering us away from that? Well, before Vietnam, soldiers in the Army, they faced the Army qualification test, which is a marksmanship skill training test that you do on a flat gun range. The targets, of course, are not shooting back. It's a flat one-way range. So it does teach you some good, steady hold factors, the 6 steps of firing a shot, and natural point of aim. All crucial things, and you can learn those all by attending a Project Appleseed rifle marksmanship clinic, which I do highly recommend. I am an instructor for them, so I'm biased. But now, today we have a lot of run and gun sports, which have added mobility to marksmanship, which I think is great. It's great to add that mobility. To add that to your gunfighter's toolkit. But we still do not imprint the skills needed when the targets are shooting back. And that's these stopwatch obsessed run and gun sports, 3-gun sports and IPSEC and all that. I mean, like I said, they're a huge improvement over the flat one-way range Army qualification test stuff, but their targets are still not shooting back. Now, I look at it from a paintball perspective. I am confident that if you took a team and trained them in the IPSC or run and gun style of shooting, where it's all stopwatch obsessed. So you had a paintball field set up, and you took one team and you trained them on the paintball field with a target set up throughout, and all they had to do was stopwatch, beep goes off, and they run, and then from behind one of the inflatable bunkers they shoot one target, then run as fast as they can to the next bunker and shoot another target, and then run through this course as quickly as they can, shooting all the targets, and then and they measure the time, and whoever's fastest wins. Now if you take that team and they have to compete against a team that's been trained in being ambidextrous, communication and coordination, I guarantee you that stopwatch team is going to get smoked 95% of the time. Being fast is good, but only in bursts of judicious use. It is the shooting back that changes everything. And Rex Applegate, in his Bullseyes Don't Shoot Back book, and his Shooting for Keeps video, talks about this difference in regards to handgun fighting. Now, I'm usually mostly focused, as far as being ambidextrous, on carbines and rifles, but pistols is the same thing. But the pistols, you can take advantage of being ambidextrous on pistols as well. But the thing with pistols is that usually they are used in an abrupt, unexpected situation, at close range, low light. You have all your physiological responses to a dangerous threat. What Rex Applegate talks about, the crouch, the instinctive crouch, the elevated heart rate, which reduces fine motor control. You get the tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, and all that. Of course, with the pistol, being aware of your surroundings, being alert, can give you time to recover from that or help prevent these physiological responses. Whereas with the rifle, you're typically going into in that kind of situation kind of prepared for the gunfighter, or at least anticipating it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be carrying such a large weapon. So rifle gunfighting, you generally know that you're moving into a gunfight is a possibility, and therefore you're able to suppress that physiological response, in fact, by the fact that you're anticipating it. And at least we did learn to do that in paintball. Now, in rifle, of course, making optimal use of cover, that's the key thing. Being able ambidextrous left and right. And I've got the whole video series, the Ambidextrous Gunfighter, which covers that, explains why to become ambidextrous, how to become ambidextrous, what the ambidextrous gunfighter requires in his rifle, and then a review on what I regard as one of the best ambidextrous rifles currently made is the Desert Tech MDR in 308. The one thing I want to do is emphasize how important I think being ambidextrous is. Let's compare being ambidextrous versus body armor. Now in paintball, what we found is, because the teams are all nowadays very good, they're all ambidextrous, they all make very good use of cover. In paintball, you are almost never hit in this, in the A zone, or in this, even any outside the A zone. You are not hardly ever hit in the chest area. And that's the area, of course, where most of your body armor is. And that's because, the combatants are all making optimal use of cover. Now, of course, the ballistic constraints of paintball versus the real firearms is different and does not translate perfectly to the real world. But nonetheless, if I had to choose between being ambidextrous and having body armor, I would confidently choose being ambidextrous over body armor. It's that big of an advantage, in my opinion. Now, of course, you can choose to be ambidextrous and wear body armor. And so I hope you'll check out my other videos on amgun.com, the whole Ambidextrous Gunfighter video series, as well as my Caring for Self-Defense, and a kind of a new version of that, which I call Self-Defense Handgun Fighter. And check out those videos for handguns, and of course the Ambidextrous Gunfighter video series for rifles, and see if you can apply it to your your situation. I do also recommend being ambidextrous for hunters. For hunters, of course, it's not quite as critical, but you do get the advantage of being ambidextrous. You can make optimal use of concealment, and then you can also take better advantage of the terrain for your steady hold factors for marksmanship. So you don't want to necessarily, abandon, think, well, I'm just a hunter, I don't need ambidextrous skills. Nonetheless, check it out. It's not hard to learn. With our paintball teams, we learned it all. We become very adept at it within 2 weeks. So anyway, to keep producing these videos, I need to get my views and subscriber base up higher. And so please share this video and others on your gun discussion forums and whatnot, and share widely and subscribe and like and all that. And I'll continue to produce videos related to being the ambidextrous gunfighter. This is Mark Laughlin with www.ambgun.com. Thanks for watching.